just go with the flow. Deep wisdom can be found in that simple saying. If you go with the flow, there is no disturbance, no resistance in any form. Now, what you're perceiving as the external world and other people are your greatest teacher. It is just your reflection, and no one knows you better than your own reflection. So it could be said that the reflection is the greatest teacher. It knows you inside out. It knows exactly what buttons to push. It knows exactly what you are and exactly what you deserve. If you are free-flowing, it will let you pass unhindered into higher consciousness. Only things that are detached could be said to be free-flowing. If it sees that you are grasping and struggling, it will hold you up and hinder you, giving you hard knock lessons over and over again. All the hard knock lessons all have really just one aim: to push you and batter you around until you finally detach, let go, and go with the flow. Now, some people will say, oh, that's just an excuse to do nothing. But there is nothing to really do. All the doings are just forms of attachment. Everything within the conscious experience invites the observer to do. But by doing, we become attached. We are no longer free-flowing. And this is the greatest test of this illusionary life: to recognize that one can do, but choose not to do. It seems impossible not to choose when given the opportunity to make a choice, but you can choose not to choose. When you choose not to choose, things become more fluid, more free-flowing. This will ultimately lead to detachment. Detachment from attachment. This cannot be stressed enough. Cannot be stressed enough. Attachments bring suffering. I've seen it with my own two eyes. An attachment is not something that can feasibly be sustained. Expectations will all ultimately end in disappointment. All hopes are followed by despair. All dreams will inevitably become broken. As Jimi Hendrix once wisely wrote, castles made of sand slip into the sea eventually. Attachments bring an idea of comfort, which is inevitably followed by discomfort, which is really just withdrawal from being comfortable, because no state of comfort can be forever sustained. The substance of the attachment, as well as the substance of the suffering, are illusions. Illusions that bring ideas of pleasure and pain to a conscious experience. The conscious experience is but an outside observer. That's all it is, and that's all it's meant to be. To just perceive, not to get emotional about what one perceives. All the emotional involvement fosters attachment, which then locks one into an idea of a self. Attachments and ideas of a self are avenues through which a conscious observer tries in vain to control things. There is no such thing as controlling things. It all controls you. You are but a leaf floating down a river. It may seem like man has control because he makes choices, takes actions. But making a choice or an action is not exercising control. It is really giving definition to boundaries. The leaf floats down the river. Choices and actions are like rocks that protrude from the river. The leaf must slip between them or get caught on them. The rocks are a potential hazard to the free-flowing leaf. They interrupt the flow. To be not like a leaf floating on a river but to be the water of the river itself. The greatest and biggest rocks that protrude from a river will not stop the river. Unlike the leaf, the water does not get snagged by the rocks. The less rocks, the greater and freer does a river flow. If no new rocks are added, then all current existing rocks will eventually erode away. Too many rocks, and the river gets dammed up. What we are calling death occurs. The free flowing ceases. Consciousness is neither born nor unborn. The water is still, quiet, stagnant, unrealized possibilities, unmanifested potential, fluid, formless, shapeless substance in stillness. But detachment gets easily dismissed, and it's easy to see why. The primary reason is because of a lack of a frame of reference for it. Attachments, entanglements, and emotional involvement is all man has ever known. Man feels that if he gives up attachments, then he will lose responsibility and motivation. He will not be able to function without it. But this is not the case. By cutting attachments, man takes on the greatest responsibility for reality. Once one realizes that they are responsible for reality, then cutting attachments is the only responsible thing to do. No more attachments, no more disturbances, no more ignorance. Because all the disturbances that are created by attachment are fostered by ignorance, not taking responsibility for reality. And from all this is born the greatest motivation to help all reach detachment, to help all give up addictions to security blankets. And please don't use science and biology to justify your feeding a desire by forming attachments. And this is the last bastion of an addict, justifying desire, attachments, ignorance, and irresponsibility by claiming that this is how we were designed, that this is what we're here to do, this is our only function. To assert this is to be in denial of change. And to be in denial of change is to be in denial of evolution. And that's the irony of this stance. A life of free-flowing and detachment is better suited for consciousness than a life of pleasure and misery. And this does not mean complacency. This does not mean apathy. It's not, don't worry, be happy. This does not mean doing nothing about the evils in the world. Because once you are detached and free-flowing, there is only one thing to do, and that is to help others towards free-flowing detachment. This is the greatest panacea of any and all evils, problems, or ills. All evils, problems, and ills are a result of man's actions, and men fight and compete with each other with further actions. You're never going to solve anything by addressing the actions, or with countering actions with other actions. Do not address the actions, address the man. Help man detach, and his actions will harmonize as a result. If all actions are harmonized, or if there are no actions, then there will be no more evils, problems, or ills.